So, yo, the word is that MTV is officially no more. Yeah, it officially died a few days ago, 40 years on. Wow. That network was something else, but just as racist as everything you can imagine. Because if it weren't for Michael Jackson's dominance and other things, they would have been a Jim Crow label. It's kind of ironic what they did. The shows have been garbage. It's been so long since that channel really mattered that it's sad. Basically, MTV has been YouTube for the last 15, 20 years. So it really hasn't. It ceased to exist. They stopped putting videos. They stopped being about artists. It became a reality show. Did like The Real World, even though that became a blueprint for a lot of what you see with these shows that you get with Love Island and this thing. They did it in the 90s. And MTV just pretty much ceased to be MTV as you know it. After the late 90s, it just became TRL when Carson Daly had his broke version of American Bandstand. And he looked like he was going to be a double Junior Whopper Dick Clark. So that's kind of where they went. And then, where they have the MTV News with John Norris, Kurt Loder, and you remember Downtown Julie Brown, all those people that were there. But they were a very biased network for a while. They got caught on their racism thanks to Michael Jackson, Sony. But say, if y'all don't play the Thriller videos, we're going to pull everything off. So I'd like to address that because David Bowie, rest in peace, called them out on that mess. And they pushed who they wanted to push. They got to push a lot of different artists. And it was a happening place once upon a time. They mentioned record sales, they mentioned performances. There was a lot of people that performed there, all the big names that blew up there, you know. And they had a hand in the boy groups and the girl groups. Yo MTV Raps was like the answer to what they tried to do. Yo Ed Lover and Dr. Dre and all that, and they had their moments, but they had really hit their peak from the mid '80s to about the mid '90s. But that show is kind of like when I think of MTV, I think about Saturday Night Live. Y'all could have pulled that plug 25, 30 years ago. The best of it was behind it. The best days were gone. So it's a trip when I find out that they officially are now, just now saying it, adios. I'm like, y'all were already done. Because nobody was even talked about MTV. You might see some old relic T-shirts, or you might have some people from Nostalgic, but no one's been tripping on MTV of a certain age and a certain time. But it was once upon a time that was like the must-see playing to have. Of course, obviously it was Friday Night Videos in the box, and there were other networks. Playboy had their own music videos, others. But MTV was the mecca. It was the one to be on for all its problems. And the sad thing about it is they just stopped pushing videos. They stopped pushing music. They became something else that they don't even know what they became, because it's like, how do you lose something that was so original, and the greed of it too? Remember, they had their own good old boy network club. Remember, Rick James called them out on it. There was a lot of people that went through a lot of politics there. They did a lot of stuff that they did. And, it's hard to believe because once upon a time, that was the most happening show on TV. It was like one of the things, if you grew up as an MTV kid and you got to watch things, and, they ran their game. But it's no more. After 40 years, 40 plus years, they pull in the plug. So it's no great loss, though, to be honest with you, because that channel hasn't even really been viable. And unless, of course, you grew up watching it. If you grew up watching, if your last 20 years have been on YouTube, then MTV seems like a joke because you got to actually see what you wanted as opposed to what they wanted to dictate you to watch. So, but what a trip that was. There was a lot of interesting interviews and people that came through there over the years. Iconic performances on MTV Video Music Awards. That show sucks. It sucked for like 25 years. It hasn't really been worth watching since I can't tell you when. And they just don't even push music no more. So good riddance. But when it was happening, it was interesting, but it came with a price. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share the video if you like. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time. Peace.